down to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee, and today I'm going to be doing a personal top 10 list. This is going to be top 10 good games that have an annoying rule, and this is going to be my own 10 rules. This was a list previously done by the other three guys, and so I just wanted to add some of my own thoughts to this. I agreed with many of them, disagree with a few of them, but for the most part, fantastic list. And so here's 10 more of them. Let's go. My number 10 is in one of my all-time favorite games of Feast for Odin. The rule that annoys me in that game is that the occupation cards are just drawn off the top of the deck. Right? When you take certain actions in the game, you can draw these occupation cards. Later in the game, you can play them down for special abilities or one-time use effects or just ongoing specialization, which I think is great. But the cards are so varied. There's in fact 3 different decks of them you can use, a different one per game. But it's just so odd that they're sometimes worth a lot of points, sometimes worth negative points because the effect is so good, they say. But it's not going to work with your strategy. It's weird to me that you can't specialize in a way that you plan for. So much of that game is well developed and thought out. It's odd to me that exists there. It is made a little bit better in the expansion, but in the base game of Feast for Odin, just drawing those cards, it bothers me enough to make this list, but down here at number 10. So my number 9 is actually a setup rule for a game called Airlines Europe. There is a particular methodology to which you must set up the deck with 3 different scoring event trigger cards, and I think that is a really brilliant system. The problem is that it's so you have to remember to deal out your starting cards to all the other players. If you start setting up the deck without dealing out cards to each player, okay, wait, hold on. I got to go through, pull out those cards. Now, I dealt out the cards to everyone around the table. I start setting up the deck. I forgot I have to put 5 face up in the lineup. Something about that always gets me. There's not an easy fix to this, but it can still be considered annoying. So my number 9 is the setup rules for the deck, the shares deck in Airlines Europe. My number 8 is a game called Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. I love so much about this game, but the one thing I really dislike, I dislike teaching it, I dislike when it happens to me, and I dislike having to remind people about it over the course of the game, is that when you go to the grab first player spot, because it's a worker placement game, you can advance the gears 2 ticks instead of 1. At the end of every round, the central gears will tick 1 space, meaning all of the worker placement gears tick forward 1 space, which is so great. It's so tight and thoughtful of a game. In fact, sometimes I feel like, maybe it's a little bit too tight for me and too calculative, but I overall really enjoy this game. But the fact that someone, when they grab first player, can choose to then advance the gears 2 ticks just throws off everything for everybody else. It's a weird thing you have to remember to teach. If you make it all the way to the top of one of the deity tracks, then you can use your ability a second time to tick twice forward. It's just, I don't know why it's quite in there. It's a weird form of negative interaction that I feel like doesn't belong in Tzolk'in. So that's my number 8, the 2 ticks. Number 7, Paladins of the West Kingdom. Once again, these are a lot of fantastic games that are really up my alley that I love. But the really small, annoying thing in Paladins of the West Kingdom is that when you do one of the 6 kind of victory point scoring actions, you can fortify your wall, you can build your wall, and when you do so, you flip over a random card, right? Just from a deck of wall cards. And I don't understand the distribution of the cards, right? You can get 2 victory points, cool, or you can get a special worker, or you can get a few resources, and some of those cards are objectively weaker than other cards. There's several games that do this, but to me, the standout is of a really great game that only has that one obnoxious thing. It's Paladins of the West Kingdom. I don't understand the wall cards, the uneven bonuses for taking a certain action. My number 6 is Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. This is a structural rule to the game. It's about the way that the app is structured. I do not at all like the fact that you have to play through a whole campaign. You can't just jump from scenario to scenario, right? That is, not only is that a rule about this game, but it's programmed into the app. So if you want to introduce this to new people, if you have a different player count or anything at all, you have to start over a brand new campaign. I think that is a bad rule to have in a game. I wish that there were ways that you could just play, oh, scenario 3 was really fun. I bet that if I showed this to my friends, that they would have a ton of fun with scenario 3. Come on, let us do that. That's my number 6, Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. Number 5 is Batman Love Letter. This is unfortunately one of the love letters that has now been out of print since Love Letter was sold on from AEG. But Batman Love Letter is probably my favorite little edition of the game. One of the great things that it does is that you can get points by capturing people with the number 1 card, if you're familiar with Love Letter. The annoying rule is that you don't get a point, this is the rules as written, you don't get a point if you capture the number 4 card. You use the number 1 to guess the identity of another card. Number 4 is Robin. He's not a villain. The way the rules are written, you're not supposed to get a point if you catch Robin instead of, oh, they happen to have number 3 Bane or number 5 Poison Ivy. That's so weird to me because it's not a carryover from the original game. It's its own thing. It's so annoying to me that it's such a small rule that I never play with it correctly. Right? Many of these things, can you house rule them? Can you not? Whatever. That one I never play with. It is so annoying. I mean, that's my number 5, Batman Love Letter. Whew. My number 4 is in a game called Brass, or now Brass Lancashire. Brass Lancashire is the original one, right? Just updated. And it has, one of the things that it's distinct from Brass Birmingham is that you can sell to what's called the distant market in the game. This is an incredibly out-of-place mechanism for me. When you choose to sell one of your cotton mills to the distant market, you flip over a tile, and it'll say a certain number of spaces to move down this little tracker. If you bottom out that track, you cannot sell that action. You have wasted an action in this really, economically tight, action-tight, thinky Euro economic game. I don't understand that. It's a weird, punishing sense of push your luck that I don't like. And the fact that you flip over a tile to see how many steps that tracker moves down can go from 0 steps down to -3. That's too big of a spread. I don't like it. I haven't played Brass Lancashire in a while, and I think that if I were to do this, I might house rule it so that you succeed in the action, then move the tracker down that many steps. And if it bottoms out, then it's bottomed out and no one else can take that action. It bothers me that much. My number 3 is in a game called Vinhos. This is a Vital Lacerda game. Vinhos is a very tight game. One of the most tight, financially games that I've played. And it's tight because of this rule, the annoying rule that the money that you gain throughout the course of play goes to the bank, not to your player available supply of spending currency, but to the bank. And you have to take an action to go to the bank. This is a game that has 12 rounds in the entirety of the gameplay. Spending 1/12 of the game to go to the bank just to get money? That's a bad idea. I do not like that part. I like so much else about this game, even though there's a lot of rules. None of the other rules are annoying quite like that rule. So much so that when this game got its 2nd edition, which I've not yet played actually, the 2016 edition has a revised setup that you can play that gets rid of the bank. Because I don't think I'm alone when I say, don't spend 1/12 of the game having to go get money. So my number 3, Vinhos, the 2010 first printing of it. Speaking of money, my number 2 is a game called Gloomhaven. A lot of people love this game. I really adore Gloomhaven. The thing that I find annoying, that you can't share gold with your companions, with the other players at the table. I want to be able to buy a card that costs 15 gold. I have 14. The other player over there has 38. Per the rules, they cannot just lend me a piece of gold so I can buy this item that will help the entire team on the expedition. We don't play that way. That is for sure, 100%, we just house rule that wrong in my house, and I don't care because I want to just have fun and buy better items and get better. Does that mean maybe we'll ramp up the difficulty when we play? Sure, I don't care. Let me have more fun. That's an annoying rule that you're not allowed to share money, especially when certain characters in the game are so good at getting money and others are so bad at it. So, number 2, Gloomhaven, sharing of gold. My number 1 annoying rule is from another thinky, heavy economic Euro game, and it's called Pipeline. Pipeline is a really cool game. It's one part worker placement economics, and it's another part putting tubes together, pipes into different arrangements so that you refine oil over longer lengths of pipe. My annoying rule in this game is the fact that when you take a turn to go develop a technology that makes you more powerful and unique, you can buy a technology. You can also choose to basically block one of the other 5 pieces of technology so that other players can't get it. Whichever one you developed this round, other players can't develop. And then you can also just choose to be a complete jerk and block off another one. And for this whole round, of which there's not a lot of rounds in this game, another player cannot develop that technology. I hate that rule. It is so annoying to me because it does nothing. It just turns off the fun lever. And so we stopped playing with that rule. It's gone. It's as if it doesn't exist. Why? Because I like being able to build technologies and have fun stuff happen and be able to be more unique and stronger. I don't like saying, you don't get to do this round. The game's tight enough already. It's not like we're breaking the game by doing that. So anyway, my number 1, Pipeline, blocking the technologies. I fundamentally disagree with that being, maybe it's an important part of the game for some reason or other, but boy does it bother me. I mean, that's my top 10 annoying rules. You can tell I get a little bit worked up about this. Looking over it again, starting at number 10, the Feast for Odin thing, that doesn't really bother me that much, but whew, these last ones get me a lot. So, are there more annoying rules that we've missed between these 2 videos covering it now? Hopefully this covered maybe a different type of game that wasn't discussed that much on the first. If you have any other thoughts, please add them below. Anyway, until next time, my name is Chris Yee from the Dice Tower. Have a great one.